सो मुझे करता है. So I'll repeat these words. You all can try to. ठीक है. जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी. You can try to follow. जयो राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी. जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी. गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी. If you all hear attentively, you all will be able to sing it. जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी. गिरिवरधारी. यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना. यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना. जमुना तीरा वनचारी. जमुना तीरा वनचारी. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे. हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. जय राधे श्याम जय राधे श्याम. राधे श्याम जय राधे श्याम. जय गौरानिताय जय गौरानिताय. Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Jaya Gauranitai, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Hari Naam Sankirtan ki jai.
Krishna Krishna,
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Danati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshcha Shri Rupam Agrajataam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishnapadan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Hamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhovevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So very happy to be here. So before session, do you all have any questions of the previous or anything in your mind before we begin today's session?
I think last week was very heavy, so we need some notes from you.
Oh yeah,
You
yes.
forgot.
Actually, I forgot. Yeah, I was just supposed to send it while coming. Also on the way, I remembered. I forgot. Immediately after this, I'll send notes for that
I
session.
think it's good to revise because
Yeah,
there's
perfectly.
so much to take in
Perfectly.
that फिर हम अपनी life में busy हो जाते
Yeah,
हैं.
yeah,
So we
yeah,
should have
yeah.
some revision.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Definitely.
Because last week ये भी नहीं काम कर रहा था.
Yeah, the video also was not there. Correct. The video was not there. Yeah. Definitely, I'll send you the course notes and we can revise also. But anything in your mind for those who attended and even for those who didn't attend before we go ahead?
No, it was interesting why God, so many gods, why not one God? I think we need to go not through the whole thing,
But part
but
of
it
it.
got very long and then
Yeah.
I didn't follow it.
Yeah.
I lost
So
it.
what I've been realizing that, and what I'm thinking of doing it this time is, probably I will not, when in all probability, I may not complete this session completely. Let's do it in two parts. In that way, the content will be less, and you all can take your time to digest it. Basically,
Yes, I think.
yeah, we can do that.
So
Yeah.
today is.
So should we start today's session?
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. Okay. So today's topic is called "Why do bad things happen to good people?" How many of you all have got this question in your mind any time in life?
Yes.
Everyone has got this.
All the time.
All the time. This question most often comes when we go through some major setbacks in life. Like any some terminal disease that comes in or something some accident that happens. And life is such that something or the other keeps happening. I was coming on the way, I was talking to one of our devotees, young boy, but he's got one side of his face is paralyzed. Suddenly he got this attack. I don't know how it happened, poor guy. Today morning I was talking to someone, they told me that, this man's wife, this lady, this devotee, she had gone to Hyderabad to meet few of her friends, college friends. So one lady, she was coming from Chennai. The bus she was coming in met with an accident. 7 people died on the spot. And she was somehow injured. So when situations like this happen, all of a sudden something just comes in our life or in the life of our near and dear ones, then definitely this question does come that, why did this happen to me? What did I do? As students, I remember myself studying in engineering college. So those who study in engineering college or any professional college, many times now, in a particular subject, you have studied really well. And in that subject, you fail. And in some subjects, you just don't study so hard, but somehow you just pass through it. Right? So sometimes you feel that, is there someone who is controlling things, or is it just going haphazardly? So there are different philosophies to see life. The first philosophy is called theism. Theism basically means you have faith that God is the creator and God is the controller. Here you see the picture of Arthur Ashe. Arthur Ashe was a Wimbledon champion. So Arthur Ashe, years later, after he won the Wimbledon, he was diagnosed with some terminal disease basically. So the reporters came and asked him, you are such a young man, you have got this disease. Didn't you get this question? Why is this happening to you? So Arthur Ashe gave a brilliant answer. Brilliant answer. He said 50 million people start to play tennis. Out of that, 5 million people actually learn how to play it. Out of that, 5 lakh people enter into the professional circuit. 50,000 people come to the circuit, 5,000 enter the Grand Slam. 50 people reach the Wimbledon, 4 semi-final, 2 final, and only one guy out of 50 million holds the cup in his hand. And there you see Arthur Ashe. So he said, when that happened to me, when I was holding the cup, I didn't ask God, why me? So now when this thing is happening to me, when the disease is happening to me, I have no right to ask God, why me? So people who have this kind of faith, they are called theists. So such people have faith and understanding that God is the creator and God is also the controller. Things are still under his control. We may not understand why, but there is a certain plan that is playing up. There is another philosophy called deism. So deism, this is a book actually. At one time this became a national bestseller in the West. This is written by Harold Kushner. He was a Christian rabbi. So he wrote this book called Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. In his own life he went through certain issues. He just couldn't understand why this is happening. So after all his thought process, he came to a conclusion that if there is a God and suffering is happening, that means 2 things. One is, God is all powerful, but he is not all merciful. He just likes to see people suffer. Or the other way is, God is all merciful, but poor guy doesn't have any power. Evil has taken over. So he just couldn't understand the fact that how can God be all powerful and all merciful simultaneously? You understanding this? So at any point, if you all want further discussions, we can always have, right? So that thing is always open, if you want to, that we understand certain concepts, you can spend more time on it. So he felt that God cannot be all powerful and all merciful simultaneously. Because if he is all powerful and all merciful, definitely he'll have the power to cure all the problems of all people. Why doesn't he do it? So he just couldn't understand this. So he came up with a philosophy called deism. Deism means God is the creator, but he is no longer the controller. Control is gone out of God, right? Satan or evil has taken over. And then we have atheism. This was Mr. Charles Darwin. So we all know Charles Darwin came up with the philosophy of origins of life, the philosophy of evolution, where his conclusion is God is neither the controller nor the creator. It all happened through a Big Bang. So Darwin's theory is basically atheism. God is completely out of the picture, right? So this is Mr. Darwin. So these are the different kinds of philosophies. And there is one more kind of philosophy called Confucianism. Many people are in this category. Many people don't know what's going on in life. We all know Titanic, when the ship was made and advertised, it was advertised as a ship that even God can't sink. I mean, see the vanity in which it was advertised. My God, people can get arrogant to any extent. So this was the way they advertised the ship. And it was such a big thing. People all over Europe wanted to just sail in the ship. So this is a real story. There was one family. They were basically peasants, farmers, very poor. But their dream was to sail in the ship. So they put all their income and got tickets, second class or third class tickets for all their family members, huge family. But what happened was just few weeks before the ship was about to sail, the son of this family, the young boy, was bitten by a dog. And the management of Titanic told them that this boy cannot be taken because he has to be quarantined at home. If he comes there, the rabies will spread. So the boy couldn't go. The family couldn't go. So this family saw the ship going and they were actually cursing God. God, why did this happen to us? This was a dream to sail in the ship. And after a few days they come to know that the ship has sank. Same people are now thanking God. Right? Good we didn't go in that ship, otherwise we would have lost our lives. So the point is, we can never understand life from the point in which we are seeing it now. Steve Jobs, he said the only way we can see life is by joining the dots backwards. From this point on, life ahead will look very confusing. But only when you reach there and look at the back, you will understand that whatever you had to go through, you had to go through to reach to this particular point. There is a plan that is unfolding. And to realize this, one needs to have a little faith. So, is God responsible for our happiness and distress? Who is responsible? हम सबकी जिंदगी में सुख दुख, इसका जिम्मेदार कौन है? भगवान है कि हम हैं? Who is responsible? Is it 50-50, 60-40? What is the equation? So that's what we are going to try to understand in today's session. Okay? So till now we have done, today is supposed to be the 5th session. Supposed to be the 5th session. I hope you all remember the sessions that we did. But if you all don't, I'll quickly touch upon it. We did search for happiness. We did who am I? We did does God exist? And we did one God, many gods. Today we are in the 5th session. Why do practical application is the 6th one. Today's session is why do bad things happen to good people. So what we saw till now, the topic of search for happiness. Summary of the topic is, even for those who didn't attend, it will be like a summary for you all. So in this session of search for happiness, we saw we are all searching for happiness, but in the wrong place. What is the wrong place?
Future.
Outside.
Future, no. This material world itself is the wrong place. Because we saw Krishna stamp this material world as Dukhalayam, a place of misery. Right? We'll discuss more upon that. So then when we discussed this topic about does God exist, we saw that there is someone up there, and we discussed various reasons and various proofs for the existence of God. Then we saw who is that person. We saw that scriptures explain that Krishna is the supreme person of Godhead. Then in the session of who am I, we saw that we are spirit souls. Now in today's session, we are going to see two topics, day 5. Where am I and why I am here? This is what we are going to see today. And in the 6th session, which is the practical application, we will see how do I get to the spiritual world. So Bhagavad Gita mainly has 5 topics. Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters, 700 verses, but the topics are 5. This is called Paramatma, Atma, Prakriti, Kal, Karma. Paramatma refers to the Supreme Lord. Atma is all of us, spirit soul. The Gita talks about the Supreme Lord, the Gita talks about us also. The Gita talks about Prakriti, material spiritual world. Gita talks about Kal, time, and Karma, action, reaction. So Paramatma, the topic of the Supreme Lord, we discussed in 2 sessions. Does God exist and one God, many gods. The topic of Atma we discussed in Who Am I. In today's session we are going to see the rest 3. Prakriti, Kal, Karma. Okay? Hello, okay till here? Okay. At any point, some clarification or anything is needed, you all can definitely ask. Especially for those who have not attended the previous sessions, if you all want any thing to be discussed, we are open for that, no issue.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
We have said that the God created everything, right?
Correct.
But the scientific explanation for that is things happen, evolve, everything. And then we got what we have today.
Correct.
And today, why the different planets don't collide, why everything is going tick-tock, just precisely. If that is happening, is that contributed to God, or is it happening because it was set in motion at that time and it continues because of a scientific reason? Each planet pulls the other one, it is in its equilibrium, and it stays like that.
We had a long discussion on this. We had a lot of discussions. But good you brought up the point. It can be like a summary for everyone also. See, there are 2 views of this whole thing. One view is the modern scientific view, where they believe that there is nothing as God. It all started with that Big Bang. That's how the whole thing started off. And the scriptural understanding is definitely there is a God. So we were discussing this point that either way, you have to have faith. None of us were there during the Big Bang. None of the scientists also. It's just a theory. It's not a proven fact. It's a theory, it's a hypothesis, which could be right, which could be wrong. For that matter, even Darwin, the origin of life, evolution is a theory. It's not a proven fact, because have we seen evolution? Have we seen evolution? Never seen evolution. And have we seen that missing link? We discussed about this. Between that man and monkey, where's the missing link? The missing link is never to be seen. The scientists came up with a few missing links, but then later on it was all found that it was all fraud, made up stuff. So ultimately it comes to a question of faith. So now we have this discussion about what is more scientific. Is it more scientific to believe that everything started from a Big Bang? A system that is so complex, just like you told about all the planets evolving, nothing clashing, no crashes, nothing. How can such a complex system just come out of a Big Bang? And how can it be just maintained like that? So the Vedic understanding, the scriptural understanding is creation doesn't come with a Big Bang, but because of a big brain. And that big brain is God. So that's the whole discussion that we had, how different proofs of the existence of God like that. Right? And ultimately, it all boils down to a faith at a certain point, but you have to see which is more rational and more scientific. So actually it's more scientific to believe that there is an intelligent God, an intelligent person who has created this intelligent world, rather than to believe that this whole intelligent world has come out just like that. Right? So that's the understanding. Is it okay?
A person.
In a sense, you
Yeah,
say
please.
everything
I mean, we can just be open. Yeah.
Everything is not found by cause and effect, so there was no cause. Big Bang, there has to be a cause, no? So God is beyond causes, right?
Exactly.
Transcendental, so it's always been there
Yeah.
from one eternity. We don't know how back that stretches
Yeah.
till ad infinitum, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That is God,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
So God could be something which cannot be seen, cannot be heard, cannot be.
Can be sensed.
But can be sensed. I see.
Yeah,
Thank
can
you.
be sensed.
You put the words in my mouth.
Yeah.
So, but can be sensed.
Can be sensed. Yeah. Yeah. That's the.
So it is creating energies, whatever, to make things happen. Even the solar system
Yeah. Yeah.
would have come through the energies created, then transformation happened.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. But the whole, today morning only I was reading a book of Srila Prabhupada. See, this world, Prakriti, we are going to discuss about this. Prakriti is nature. This world is like a machine, right? Everything revolves perfectly, everything is in sync. No machine can start on its own. There has to be someone who's pushed the button.
And
You-
created the machine.
Created the machine, yeah. None of us might have seen who pushed the button, but it's understood someone has pushed it. So similarly, just because the whole machine is working, it's a working model. This world is not a dead model, it's a working model. So someone has pushed the button on, and that is God, right? And regarding the question of God being energy and everything, we had a discussion on that also, that there are different levels to understand God. One, you can say that God is energy, but we also had the discussion that when we say energy, energy always comes from a source. Like we have electricity, which is energy, but it's coming from some source. So therefore, in our Vedic scriptures, you have energy which is called Shakti, and you have the Supreme Lord who is called Shaktiman, the possessor of energy. So therefore, we have Lakshmi Narayan, yeah, you have Shiv Parvati, you have this combination of Shakti and Shaktiman. That's how the world operates. That's the more holistic understanding of how this whole thing goes on. Yeah. I think, can we go a little ahead?
Yes, because I think some people have missed.
Yeah, you'll have missed. See, that's why, by now you might have figured out. That's why these sessions are built one above the other. These are like blocks building one after another. So that's why even though everyone wanted to jump into this topic from the beginning, that's what everyone wants to jump into, why do bad things happen to good people? But you can't jump into these topics until certain fundamentals are clear, right? I mean, those who have been coming, their fundamentals have become a little clear, so they understand. But anyway, I think some idea you might have got, and we will send you the links and videos. You can definitely look into it. Okay? But I think we'll have more discussions as we go ahead. So this material world is called Prakriti. Material world is called Prakriti. So we had the discussion that we are all Atma. We are not this body, but we are spirit soul. We are a spiritual living entity who's entrapped in this body. Right? This body is like an entrap, and it's like a trap for us, or you can say this is like a vehicle for us. We are like the driver, the Atma is the driver, and the body is like a vehicle. So as soon as the Atma leaves the body is not going to function anymore. So we are all Atma. We are all spiritual beings. So because we are spiritual beings, we have all come from the spiritual world. So we have come, whereas the soul come from the spiritual world. Where has the soul come to now? Right now we are in something called the material world. Okay, another connection to what you asked. See, when we have to discuss topics about who is God, when we have to discuss topics about what is Atma, what is the spiritual world, all these concepts, we have to refer to the scriptures. So in one of the sessions, does God exist? We discussed this point. It can be a recap for the others also. See, there are 3 ways in which you can gain knowledge in this world, about anything in this world. One is called Pratyaksha Praman, one is called Anuman Praman, and one is called Shabda Praman. Pratyaksha Praman means what you gain through your senses. Direct sense perception is called Pratyaksha Praman. Anuman Praman means what you don't gain through your senses, that some amount you speculate. You don't anuman, you guess. Like suppose from that room there is some noise coming. I can't see it. So I may just speculate that someone is fighting, the TV is going on, some speculation. Maybe right, maybe wrong. But the best way of gaining knowledge is called Shabda Praman, word of authority. I'll tell you. So now, if you have to understand about medicine, if you have to become a doctor, if I say, I will learn everything through what I see and hear, it's called Pratyaksha. Or if you have to learn astronomy, right? You say, I will just see through my naked eyes and I'll figure out what it is. You may not come to the right understanding. Or if you say, I will do guesswork, still it may be wrong. But the best way is, you learn from proper authoritative sources, proper teachers, a proper school. That's the perfect way your understanding will be perfect, without any mistakes in it. You're getting it? So now, when we speak about things in this world, to become a doctor, to become an engineer, to become all these things, you work under someone. See, even an expert surgeon has always worked under another expert surgeon. Just theory is not enough. You have to have practical experience. You have to have the practical guidance. So now, when we are speaking about God, Atma, spiritual world, these things are beyond our mind and senses. We can't see God. We already discussed that. We can't see the Atma. We can't see the spiritual world. So how do we discuss all this? Based on the scriptures. Based on the scriptures, because the scriptures are considered to be the word of authority, right? And we also discussed various reasons why we should put faith in scriptures like that. Understanding? So the discussion henceforth, whatever we are going to have, is based on what our scriptures explain, right? So that's the only way we can get this understanding. And if you actually see it in a very broad perspective, if you see, when we understand these concepts now, see, I fully agree that we have all come from a certain set of education system. We already have a certain understanding of life and everything. So when we come to this kind of understanding, the whole understanding may be a little shaken. But the only thing that is required at this point is, we may not be able to immediately accept and digest. That's okay. We can all take our own time and all. But at least what is expected is, we give this an open ear. If we just give it an open ear and give it an understanding, probably this may sound perfect for us, right? So that's how it's expected that we come to these sessions, right? After that, it's everyone's call whether someone wants to accept it or not. Okay? So the scriptures explain, the Gita Bhagavad, that as Atma, we have all come from the spiritual world as spirit, and we have all come to the material world. So this material world is a foreign place for the soul. We are not supposed to be here. We are actually supposed to be in the spiritual world. This is not a natural place to be in. So, what the spiritual world and what the material world, according to our Vedic scriptures, Srimad Bhagavatam, is something like this. I'll tell you a little more detail. So there is, in Bible and in all these books, Abrahamic books, there is mention about God being great. There is mention about God saying that let there be creation, and there was creation. But our Vedic scriptures explain how God is great and how creation happens. Step by step, how creation happens, right? So I'll give you idea of this whole thing, right? So basically what you see there on top is called the spiritual world. The spiritual world in Sanskrit is called Vaikunta. You have heard of this? Heard of this word, Vaikunta? No. So many times people say, when someone passes away, they say, Vaikunta padarge, Vaikunta. So what does Vaikunta mean? Kunta means a place of misery. Vaikunta means a place where there is no misery. This material world, if you see this, is called Kunta. Material world is called Kunta, a place of misery. And spiritual world is called Vaikunta, a place where there is no misery. Now, this is just like you have unlimited planets in this material world. So similarly, there are unlimited planets in the spiritual world. So the scriptures explain that if God's creation is 100%, 75% is the spiritual world. Only 25% is the material world. That means, imagine how big God's creation is. We can't even fathom, the scientists can't even fathom the length and breadth of this earth, which is just one planet in the material world. There are like unlimited planets, unlimited galaxies. We can't even figure it out how much it is. Beyond all this is the spiritual world, which has many, many planets. So now, the material world, this is what it looks like. How the scriptures explain is, there is one form of Vishnu called Karanodakshai Vishnu. Karan means cause. Shai means who is sleeping. So he's also called Mahavishnu. He sleeps on the Karana Sagar. In English, this is called causal ocean. Right? And then this Mahavishnu, he's unlimitedly huge. So when he breathes out, from every pore of his body, one universe comes. In Sanskrit, this universe is called Brahmand. It's in the shape of an egg, Brahmand. So you can see Mahavishnu and he's breathing out. There are unlimited universes. Now, how many pores we have in our body? Skin pores. You can't even count. So you can imagine how many universes might be there. In each universe, again that Vishnu expands into a Vishnu called Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And he sleeps on the Garbhodak Sagar. Every universe, how does every universe look according to our Vedic understanding? Every universe, half is filled with water, called the Garbhodak Sagar, and Garbhodakshai Vishnu is lying on it. And from his navel, Brahmaji comes, the first living entity. Brahmaji is born, the first son of Vishnu. Brahmaji is born from the navel of Vishnu. And then Brahmaji does the creation. Brahmaji is like the engineer. The ingredients are created by the Lord, and Brahmaji does the creation. So the lotus stem, where that whole lotus stem where Brahmaji is sitting on top, that lotus stem, Brahmaji creates 14 planetary systems. If you have heard of this, there are the higher planetary systems: Swarga Loka, Mahar Loka, Tapa Loka, Jana Loka, Satya Loka. And Earth is considered to be the between, Bhuloka. And below Earth, they are the lower planetary systems: Attal, Vittal, Sutal, Patal, Talatal, Rasatal, like that. Or in those who chant the Gayatri mantra, so they have this Bhu, Bhuva, Swar. We chant this Gayatri mantra. Bhu means earth, Bhuvar is the lower planetary system, and Swar is the higher planetary systems. So basically divided into 3 parts like this. So every universe is like this. And in each universe there are unlimited planets, unlimited living entities. So the whole idea is, and so this is the material sky in which there are so many material planets, and beyond that is the spiritual sky. So we are all actually originally, our origin as Atma is the spiritual world. But from the spiritual world, we all came to the material world. Why, we will see now. Is this okay till here? Okay. I'm trying to make it as simple as possible, but these are certain things that you all need to understand. And also, by hearing this, if you are not able to digest it in one go, you all will also be able to appreciate the fact that the Vedic scriptures are quite scientific. They have their own set of science and things are like very clearly explained in this, right? So our origin is, we all belong to the spiritual world, the spiritual creation, right? So now, why has the soul come here? Why did we come to the material world? Because we all tried to be independent of God. I'll tell you what it means. In Bible, in the biblical language, there is a very interesting story which will explain you this whole concept of why the Atma comes from the spiritual world to this material world. How it happens. So the Bible explains like this. God created Adam and Eve. Man and woman. But when God created them, they were completely innocent. They were completely naked, but completely innocent. I mean, they had no idea of man, woman, completely innocent. Just like children have no idea, a boy, girl, children are like in their own worlds. Very pure. So, Adam and Eve were created like this. And God gave them the Garden of Eden. And God told them, be happy here, my children. The only thing that you all should not do, don't eat this apple. This was called the forbidden apple. That's what God told them and went. That's it. Be happy here, you all will have no problem. Just don't eat that apple. So when you're told, like if I have a box and I tell you, don't open this box. वो कीड़ा ना बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. Again, if I didn't tell, that's a different thing. But once you tell, don't open this box, you are only thinking of that box. Again, that's how your mind is that way. So God told this and went away. And Adam and Eve were enjoying life, very happy. They were actually in the spiritual world. The Garden of Eden was actually the spiritual world for them. But suddenly one day, Satan appears in front. Satan, you can call it evil, or in our Vedic language, you can call it Maya, the illusory power. So Satan comes and tells them, eat that apple. Adam and Eve say, come on, God told us not to eat it. Satan tells them, you know why God told? Because when you eat it, you will become God. God doesn't want you to become God. That's why he told you. And Satan went. So now these people started to think, logical hai Baba? Logical. And probably God doesn't want us to become God. He also has his insecurity. So they ate the apple. So after some time, God comes to do a check on the children. And now Adam and Eve are dressed. They have got all these feelings of man, women, attraction. All these feelings have come. God understood. Now they are no longer in the spiritual world. The Garden of Eden has now become the material world for them. Why? Because they ate that forbidden apple. In biblical language, this is called the original sin. They call this as the original sin, because of which all sins happen. And what is the desire? If you see this whole story, what was their desire to eat that apple? They wanted to be God. Got it? So we were all in the spiritual world, happy, enjoying, where we saw the definition of God. We saw God as the supreme source, the supreme enjoyer. The day in the spiritual world we get this thought, why only God should enjoy? I also want to enjoy like him. Finish. Immediately our journey starts to the material world. So the first thing is, God didn't send us to the material world. We came to the material world. Going back in the first class, we discussed the story of the prodigal son. Remember the story from the Bible again? That this landlord had 2 children and one of the children wanted to go away. The father tried to convince him, don't go. But still the child was adamant and went. So similarly, we all come to the material world because of this original desire. In a Vedic language, this is called the original envy, Irisha. We all want to be God. We want to be competitors of God. We don't want to be cooperators of God. We want to become God, we want to be the enjoyers, we want to be the center of attraction, like that. You are understanding this point? So therefore we come here. So when the soul leaves the spiritual world and comes to the material world, the first thing that happens is we forget our identity. We forget that we are Atma. And then we start to identify with this material body made of flesh and bones. This is how we start to identify. Okay? To give you another example, just like a very rich man may have a driver. He may have the best of the Mercedes car, everything. And he has a driver. See, the driver also enjoys the comforts of the car as much as this owner. I mean, the owner doesn't tell him AC only for me, not for you. He enjoys all the facilities of the car. And the owner has no problem. The owner has absolutely no problem. But if one day the driver leaves the owner, he has to attend some party in some restaurant, and this guy takes the car and goes away. On his own, he takes the car and goes away. The owner, first thing when he comes to know, he'll call the police and tell him, catch him. So what is the difference? Previously also he was driving the same car. Now also he's driving the same car. What has been the difference? The difference is, now he wants to be independent of the master. Understanding? As long as he is cooperating with the master, there is absolutely no issue. No issue. Master has no problem with you enjoying all the facilities. But as soon as you want to become the master, you want to be independent of the master, then that is actually a problem. You understanding? So this is how we come to this material world, because of this desire to be independent. So in English now, there is a saying, experience is the best teacher. Have you all heard this saying? Experience is the best teacher. But actually, the one who wrote this saying now, there's a second part to the saying. Do you all know what the full saying is? The full saying is, experience is the best teacher, but a fool learns by no other way. Experience is the best teacher, but a fool learns by no other way. What does it mean?
That means there is no other alternative for him to learn except go through misery, pain, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Whereas as opposed to, there is also another saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah.
I mean, so vicarious, what you're saying is wise people learn the vicarious way through other people's experiences.
Exactly. That's what it means. That's what it means. An intelligent guy doesn't have to go through experience. Because when someone, okay, you tell a child, don't put your hand in fire. Simple. Intelligent child will just understand. Now a child is stubborn, mother is saying don't put, okay, you put. Once you get burnt, you will not put again. Right? It's like that. You're understanding? So the best way is through hearing. But when someone is so adamant and stubborn, he has to go through experience, only then he will learn. So the living entities who are in the spiritual world, they don't have to go through experience. We have come here, because we have been a little stubborn, we have come here so that we learn. It's still not bad. So we are learning our lessons the harder way. Experience in life actually teaches us certain lessons. In Sanskrit, Ved means knowledge, Gyan. Many times Ved comes from Vedana. Vedana means suffering. When you go through suffering in life, somehow all knowledge starts to make sense to you. Right? So it's like that. So another example, probably we can take one or two and then probably stop for today and then continue next. I think you'll need some time to digest these things. Okay, I think we will take this one thing and then try to stop. Just like a small baby girl, small child, daughter, she may see the mother cooking and she may tell the mother, I also want to cook. Right? You might have seen children like this. I also want to cook because children want to imitate everything. But the mother knows that this child can't cook because cooking is not a child's play, fire, knife, everything involved. So mother goes and buys a kitchen set for the girl. And the girl is like happy, right? Doing a little cooking, she's like engrossed in her own. She's thinking that there's real cooking only going on. But when she gets hungry, will the kitchen set food help her? She has to go running to the mother for the actual food. This material world is something like a kitchen set for us. We wanted to imitate God. God said, take this place set, try. So we keep trying different things. But then at some time we start to realize in this material world that whatever I'm playing around with cannot satisfy me. That is the time we go back running to our mother, to that Supreme Father. Right? Or for children, for boys, boys want to drive a car. Father doesn't give, but the father takes the boy to SL world. And there the boy has some experience, some kind of driving that he does. He feels good about it. This material world is like an SL world. For those adamant children who want to imitate, Krishna says, okay, this material world, try your stuff. Try to be God. Try to be the enjoyer. Try to be the controller. Try. But no one can be. No one can be God, right? So once we realize that, then that's the time we want to make the surgeon back to the spiritual world. I think I will stop at this point.
One thing. We're coming back to the main topic. Why do bad things happen? Just
I'm not yet come.
Yeah, just summarize it. That's what you've come.
I'm coming to it. I'm coming to it.
You've created a suspense.
Yeah.
So that you come back again and hear more of it.
See, generally the way we do it is, we always do the session complete. But this session will run for it's a 2-hour session. I mean, I can do shortcuts, but then again you all will be left with questions. So it's a 2-hour session. To reach that point, I have to touch the full thing. I have to run through all the slides. Then only it will be complete. I can do it, but I just want. I'm just concerned that I shouldn't be giving you all too much information, and again you all go back that it's been heavy basically.
Processing takes time.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
So just give us a little trailer.
Trailer,
why
what's-
bad things happen? What have we just sort of?
Yeah. So basically, I'll give you the trailer. What's coming ahead?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Who decides in whose body the soul goes?
Good question. Good question. Okay. So it's very much connected to Nimi Mataji's question also, what she wants to know. So basically, here, I told you in today's session, what we were supposed to discuss is 3 topics. Prakriti, Kala, Karma. What I'm discussing at this point is still Prakriti. The material world, why we came here, the spiritual world, like that. Next, there's a little about Kala, time, but then we get into the topic of Karma. Karma. So it's like this. See, as soon as you sit in a rickshaw, the meter starts. The meter keeps running, right? So similarly, as soon as we saw why we came from the spiritual world to the material world, as soon as the Atma steps in the material world, the meter of karma starts. Everything gets calculated. Everything. Every thought, word, action, everything gets calculated. See, you may be in a rickshaw drive, sitting there, and after 1 hour, the rickshaw guy may say so and so amount. He may say, come on, yaar, it was such a short distance. But he say, I don't know, the meter did it. They have their own calculations how to do it. So similarly, the karma meter is like perfect. It has its own, every thought, word, action, everything is like getting calculated fatafat. And whatever body we get next, whatever suffering, whatever we get next is in par with those calculations. Yeah. Yeah, as in Bible, so shall you reap. Like that. Pardon? Yeah, please.
Actually, in the spiritual world, the soul doesn't do anything bad, right?
Yeah.
So then, when the soul comes into the body,
Huh.
why do they say it's from the past life?
So basically, a good question. So in the spiritual world, the soul doesn't do anything bad. But as soon as you start your meter from zero. You start your meter from zero. There is no previous thing when you enter. But as soon as you enter, the calculations start.
Do we
Every good, bad, everything has its own calculations that keeps going on. And slowly the reactions build. Slowly the reactions build. Yes,
Do
please.
we enter because we decided to compete with God, hence we are thrown out of the spiritual world and thrown into the material world? Because we decided to challenge ourselves or God that we are as good as you, so what's the big deal?
Yeah.
And that's when God decides, okay, you want to try that out? Go there and try it. Is that how it starts?
Yeah, somewhat. But what you have mentioned is correct. But the mood of mentioning is not correct.
Okay.
So God doesn't send us here. God doesn't want us to come here.
No, I meant we've been stubborn.
We have been
So
exactly,
we are challenging God that, okay,
exactly.
so that's how the God has just said, okay, so you want it your way?
Yeah, this is the place for you
Right.
to
And
be
then the
that,
meter starts.
and then the meter starts.
See, it's like the apple now. You were not supposed to eat the apple. If you had not eaten the apple, you would have stayed beautiful.
But here God
because-
didn't put such restrictions. Huh? There
No,
was no
but you see,
restrictions.
in our scriptures, it's more linked to this concept of, the best way to understand this is debit and credit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
bank balance.
And karmas keep on happening.
No, that I
So-
understand. I'm saying
so
how
what
does
happens
it,
is-
what's the
Starting point.
the
The Big
starting
Bang
point?
Theory, where it all originated. That we can debate for hours. I think nobody will know the answer for that. But what really happens is that we are caught in this cycle of birth and rebirth, and that is all debit versus credit.
Of course.
Good and bad, good and bad. That determines.
We'll be discussing more on it
Yeah, I think
as
if
the
we
slides.
stay- like you said, when we are in that spiritual world, we do all nice things. Soon as we get out of that spiritual world and we come, that's when,
Exactly.
to be in that spiritual world, we have to do nice things.
Or there's another way of thinking about it, another angle.
See,
Since
even
everything is good in the spiritual world, and we are naughty souls, opposite values are complementary. So all goodness is not working for us. So we say, okay, let's experience the little bad stuff also to know the difference. And
yeah.
that's
So
how we
I'll tell you
can-
how it is. I'll tell you how it is. See, there are 2-3 things that you all need to understand. First is, as Atma, there are 2 things. There is dead matter and living matter. Moving, non-moving. In our school we have learned, na? Moving, non-moving. In Sanskrit this is called char, achar. This table, see, we are all part and parcel of God. We are all an energy. This matter, all this table and all these things is also energy of God. There's a difference between both. As Atma, God has given all of us free will. So free will means you can choose. You can choose either way. That is never taken away even when we go to the spiritual world. So that free will. So if there is no free will, we'll just be robots basically. You understanding? So God doesn't want robots. He's created us as His children with free will. And free will means some people will use that free will, some people will want to abuse that free will in different ways. They'll want to make choices. And that's how the world plays on. Understanding? So basically, wrong choices have got us here, and the right choices will get us back there.
So exercising our free will was not really a very good choice. That's how we are here.
Exercising the free will in the wrong way was not a good choice.
Wrong
Yeah.
way is a bad choice.
Yeah.
You have a free will to make a right choice and a free
They put there
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
not come here to experience what we are not aware of.
I want a little
Yes, please.
bit in terms of, what I learned was like,
Yeah,
they say that pain might be inevitable, but suffering is optional.
correct.
So hence, if you make this a good experience, that's what we are here for.
Exactly.
You don't criticize that world, this world, this world. You have a choice to dwell within your temple, that is your body, and choose what you're going to perceive and think and feel.
Yes.
That is the choice.
Exactly.
Not birth, rebirth, death, and so on. I mean, that's what is called transcendental and rising above cause and effect.
Yeah.
In my perspective, that's what I've learned in so many years.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So when we discuss about good, and going back to the spiritual world, we need to understand these concepts well. So in talking about what's coming up, we are going to discuss 3 types of karma. Generally, people feel karma is just one. There are 3 varieties of karma that Krishna explains in the Gita very clearly. One is called karma, one is called vikarma, and one is called akarma. So karma means good activities. Good. So when you do good activities, you get good reactions. It's a plus. Vikarma is bad activities, you get bad reactions, sinful reactions. And there's something called akarma. Activities, akarma is basically neutral, but the word neutral doesn't fully convey the meaning. So akarma is activities that squares off your bank account of karma. So because to go back to the spiritual world, your karma bank account has to become zero. Only when reactions get squared up, you'll be able to go back. So what activities just square up the whole thing is what akarma is, which specifically is spoken about in the Gita, and this is what is going to come ahead in the discussions as you go ahead.
I
Is the
think that's
karma in sync with amends? Like
Pardon?
you've done something, you realize, and you have a transformation and you reverse.
What is akarma?
Yes, amends.
Amends also, yeah, definitely. Repentance, amends is there only. Realizations, yeah, definitely. But it also means a certain way of living, a certain consciousness of living, which will make the whole difference. So karma, vikarma, akarma is based on the activities, and also it's based on consciousness, why you're doing what you're doing. So that is what the Gita talks about. Because if you see in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, both Arjun and Duryodhana were fighting. So on one level, both were doing the same kind of karma, but both are not calculated as the same type of karma because the consciousness of both were completely different. And that's what we're going to discuss ahead in the sessions to come. Yeah, I would have actually completed this whole thing, but I think we will take it in the next go. Okay? But definitely for those who have been coming, you might have realized by now that if you all go through these sessions properly, the puzzle falls in place basically. Things fall in place. But you have to be a little patient, and as I told you, you have to be a little open for this and give it some time to understand and then decide whether it makes sense to you or not. It's like that. Okay? So thank you very much. I'm very happy to meet all of you all, and I'm happy that all of you all are hearing this and at least giving this an open ear, open heart. That's something that's very important. Thank you.
I think it will take us time.
It'll take time.
Because we are.
There's no hurry. I mean, no one gets to get a to get a professional certificate, you require so many standards that you go through. It doesn't happen overnight. So, we are speaking about Gita philosophy. These are something that's more deeper than getting a medical and an engineering degree. These are something a little more deeper. So, I think it's too wrong to feel that, just in few sessions, everything should become clear. But the point is, if with every session, things are becoming a little more clear, that's good enough.
Yeah.
So we should not expect that everything will be clear in one session. That's too much, too unrealistic. But if things are getting a little more clearer day by day, session by session, you all should feel that things are in the right direction.
So maybe later on, once we completed then we can have a recap.
Complete, 100%.
One lesson on recaps.
Completely.
I just have a suggestion that
Please tell me.
whatever sessions we've done so far, can we have a brief synopsis of it,
That's what I said.
In the,
every part,
in the classes or in the notes format?
notes for it.
I've already sent you for the first 3 sessions. I've sent the course notes. Yeah. I can send it to you again. I'll send the course notes for the previous session, and I'll send for this session also. Even though I have not completed this session, I'll still send it. You all can go through it. So there's no issue with that.
when we completed the 6th session, then the last session, can we have a sort of a recap
Perfect.
of all the 6 sessions?
Perfect.
Just, like 10 minutes of each.
Yeah. The recap can come from all of you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
can come from all of
maybe
you.
you could give us some homework.
Yeah.
You know?
The homework now is I'm sending you the course notes for session 5, session 4 and session 5. So with today and sometime you will have course notes for the first 5 sessions. Please go through it. It's simple. Go through it and then next time we can probably start with the recap and then continue also.
Another question.
Yes.
Are the scriptures the word of
Definitely. If not
But
then
they are written by man, correct?
no.
How? Then who's written them? Yeah, this is a question I've been wanting to ask for a very long time.
Okay. See you? Yes. So I'll tell you about our scriptures basically. The Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Lord Krishna, and we already had a long discussion that Lord Krishna is not an ordinary person, he is the Supreme Lord. If Krishna was an ordinary person, then we don't have to waste time doing these sessions. I mean, if Krishna was normal Tom, Dick and Harry, then we don't have to spend time reading Gita because it really doesn't make any sense. It's not any book of authority. Because Krishna is God, and we had discussed how Krishna fits into the 2 definitions of God and everything, therefore we take time to hear the Gita. So Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita on the battlefield of Kurukshetra 5000 years ago. Historical, not mythological, historical, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. At that time, Vyasdev, who also happens to be in the part of Mahabharata. So actually, if you all know the story of Mahabharata, Dhritarashtra, Pandu, Vidura, these are all sons of Vyasdev. So Vyasdev was part of the Mahabharata story. Vyasdev himself, he is considered to be an avatar of Vishnu. He is considered to be Shaktavesh avatar, literary incarnate. So Vyasdev is the one who writes all the Vedas and everything down. So the Mahabharata was, the Bhagavad Gita, which is a part of Mahabharata, was written by Vyasdev. So it is called Itihas. The Mahabharata is called an Itihas, means history. It was written down when the story was happening. Similarly with Ramayana.
But Ramayana was written by Valmiki.
Valmiki, yeah.
Valmiki was a dacoit and was a
Exactly.
human being who had his
Yeah.
own this thing.
Yeah. But he was there in the past time. So if you see, Sita Maya, when Lord Ram sends Sita, she goes and stays in the ashram of Valmiki. And even when Lord Ram is going towards the 14 years of forest.
I'm sorry I'm asking all this.
Yeah, no.
He's a layman.
Yeah, perfectly. I mean, we all have learned that way only. So questions are always encouraged. Even in the Gita, Arjuna is asking the same questions again and again, and Krishna is answering it. So there is no problem with questions. So when Lord Ram is also going 14 years to the forest, he meets Valmiki Muni. So Valmiki Muni is present during the time of Lord Ram. And Brahmaji empowered Valmiki Muni to actually write this. Right? Yeah. And Valmiki Muni, after he wrote the entire Ramayana, he taught Ramayana to the children of Lord Ram, Lava and Kush, who were born in his ashram. And Lava and Kush go reciting Ramayana all over the world, and they come to Ayodhya, and in front of Lord Ram, they recite the entire Ramayana. So these books are very, very authoritative books. If you go to Badrika Ashram, any of you have been to Badrika Ashram? Badrinath?
Badrinath.
You have been to Badrinath?
No, Badrinath.
Kedarnath you have been?
Yeah, Badrinath.
Kedarnath, Badrinath both. So in Badrinath, there is Vyas Gufa and Ganesh Gufa. So Vyasdev dictates Mahabharata and Ganeshji writes Mahabharata. So he is like the stenographer or whatever, scribe. So these places are still there in India for everyone to see. Like that.
So if it is Itihas,
Yeah.
why do some people say these are mythological
Yeah.
stories?
People who are foolish will say, people who have not been trained in the right sense of education, spirituality, these are the people who will say.
No, but
It was always taught to us these are mythologies only. Mahabharata.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You know, these words were introduced by the British. The British Indologists, they basically, see, they were very smart people. They understood that the only way Indian civilization and Indian thought process has been far advanced than any other part of the world, right from ages. So British understood that Indians can only be controlled if they are made to feel that they are fools. And we Westerners are more advanced than them. And the only way we can be made to feel we are fools is when you term all these books as mythologies. When you lose faith in our own heritage, then you look into their history. You know, you study Roman history, this history, that history, and you don't study what our history is. You know, what's taught in history books is Mughal history, this history, that history. No children knows about Ramayana, Mahabharata. They have no idea.
So 200 years ago, Lord Macaulay completely killed the Gurukul system of education in India and introduced the Western system of education. That started the process really to create a pool of clerical staff to serve the East India Company, followed by the British.
Exactly.
The entire Gurukul system got destroyed.
So India
After
was
that, for the last 70 years, thanks to the governments who came into power, it was always, we have the coconut syndrome. So we brown people want to be like the white people. So the history books written by people like Romila Thapar and all they all espouse, for example, Mughal architecture. When you look at a snapshot of the Taj Mahal, which is known by us as Mughal architecture, look at Arabia, which is where all the Mughals and all came from. Look at their architecture during that period. They were living in absolute, poor levels of evolution. They had no buildings and architecture to talk about. So where did that come from? That came from the karigars, the artisans who were in India, of Bharat, who got plundered, and we paid jizya tax because we were non-Muslims when they came here. Now, unfortunately, all that because of